Hello, my students. Our session today is Unit 2, Books and Reading. Let's start with the revision. Rewrite the following sentences. Number 1. You ought to study hard. Use should. We said before that we can use ought to or should or I advise you to for giving advice. Number 1. You ought to study hard. Use should. So, we will say you should study hard. Number 2. You should see a doctor. Use if I were you. The answer will be if I were you, I would see a doctor. Number 3. My advice is to take a taxi. Use should. The answer will be you should take a taxi. Now let's turn to the new words for this unit. Number 1. Review. Review. Review is a noun. It means writing which gives your opinion about a book or film. For example, I read a review of that book. It said it was very good. Summary. Summary. Summary is a writing that gives the main information about something. For example, the book also includes summaries at the end of each chapter. Novel. It's a long story that's written. Title. It's the name given to a book or play. For example, the title of this unit is Books and Reading. Tour guide. Tour guide is someone who shows tourists around places. Tremble. Tremble is a verb. It means shake a little when you are afraid. For example, he was still trembling in fear. Detective. Detective is someone who helps the police to discover a criminal. For example, Sherlock Holmes was a famous detective. Adventure. Adventure containing exciting or dangerous events. Now let's turn to the language notes for this unit. Number 1. How to make suggestion. We can use let's plus the infinitive or how about plus verb ing. For example, let's choose a book to read. Or how about choosing a book to read. Let's know the difference between these three words: history, historian, or historical. Number 1, history is a school subject. For example, my favorite subject is history. Number 2, historian. Historian is the one who writes about history, so he is a historian. Number 3, historical. Historical is an adjective. For example, there are a lot of historical stories. And let's turn to like plus verb ing or would like to plus infinitive. For example, I like watching TV. Number 2, I would like to watch TV. Let's turn to take time to plus infinitive or spend plus time plus verb ing. Number 1, I will take 2 hours to do homework. The second example, I will spend 2 hours doing homework. Now, what's the difference between title and address? Title means the title of a book or newspaper. The title of the book is Black Beauty. Number 2, my address is 30 Arabi Street, Cairo. Okay, review and view. Number 1, I have read a review of that book. Number 2, I like natural views. And like is a verb and like also is an adverb. For example, I like football. It's a verb. Number 2, he is walking like a lion. Like here means as, so it's an adverb. Okay, let's turn to desert or desert. Number 1, he was lost in the desert. Number 2, we have dessert after lunch, the sweet food. Dessert means sweet food. Okay, and now the last or last. For example, the last time he visited Aswan was 2010. Number 2, his water won't last for long. What's the difference between light or a light? Light is an adjective. Okay? For example, it's not heavy, it's light. But a light is a noun, like that torch. He's carrying a light. Finally or final. Finally, it's an adverb. Okay? For example, finally, help has arrived. Number 2, the final match will be tomorrow. Okay, and realize or recognize. Number 1, when I went home, I realized that I lost my money. Realized means understood. Number 2, I didn't recognize Ali because he was abroad for long. It means I didn't remember him. Okay, now what's the difference between gone to or been to? Look at these two examples and you will know the difference. Okay, number 1, she has gone to the market. It means that she didn't come back. Number 2, she has been to the market. It means she came back. Let's turn to make plus the object plus feel plus adjective. For example, it makes me feel excited. And now let's turn to alone and lonely. Alone is an adjective. It means without anyone. For example, he was alone in the desert. And also lonely is an adjective, but it means unhappy. For example, he feels lonely although he has a big family. Very plus adjective or very plus adverb. Number 1, he is very good. Good is an adjective. And number 2, he plays very well. Well is an adverb. Okay, now let's turn to the difference between quite that ends with te or quite that ends with et or quit. Number 1, quite with te, it's an adverb. For example, it's quite hot today. Number 2, quite that ends with et, it's an adjective. For example, the place is quite not noisy. And the last one, quit, is a verb. Okay, how to express your feeling? You can ask with one of these questions. Number 1, how do you feel when you are in a dark place? The answer will be, I feel frightened or afraid or sad. Number 2, how do you feel when you win a prize? The answer will be, I feel proud or happy or excited. Number 3, how do you feel about the story? It made me excited means quite happy. Now, let's turn to the grammar for this unit. Our grammar is about using comparatives and superlatives for comparison. We can use few, fewer, the fewest, or little, less, the least. Number 1, we use these words for comparison. We use few, fewer, the fewest before countable nouns. For example, few students read magazines. Number 2, we use little, less, the least with uncountable nouns. For example, there is little water in the lake because it was very dry this year. The comparative forms are fewer and less. Fewer and less. For example, I have got fewer bucks. Fewer bucks. So, fewer comes before countable nouns. Okay. Number 2, You have got less meat than I have. Less comes before uncountable nouns. The separative forms are the fewest and the least. For example, class 4 has the fewest students. That bottle has the least water. Okay, there are more examples. Number 1, I have fewer books than Ali. Fewer before countable nouns. Number 2, I have less money than Dina. Less comes before uncountable nouns. Class 4 has the fewest students. Number 4, that bottle has the least water. I want a book with fewer pages than this. And he has as much money as me if the two subjects are equal. The last one, she has as many books as her sister. Now let's turn to these questions. Okay, choose the correct answer from A, B, C or D. Number 1, this book has space pages than that book. Little or less or fewer or least. Here pages is uncountable or countable. Yes, it's countable noun. So we will use fewer. The answer will be fewer. This book has fewer pages than that book. Number 2, people often drink space water in hot weather than when it's cold. Less, least, more or most. The answer will be more water. Number 3, space students in our school have visited England. The answer will be few. Number 4, there are space than 20 people on the bus today. Little, less, fewer or least. The answer will be fewer. And thanks a lot.